This is actually my first time fully consuming any Frankenstein story, and I'm glad it was this one that touched on responsibility, intention, and the desire to connect with others. I just watched Frankenstein, and I want to talk about it. This film is yet another interpretation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, made for a modern audience, and from what I've read, it stays pretty true to her original idea and intent, where some other adaptations stray for the horror of it all. At its core, this is the story of Victor Frankenstein, a man who had a troubled relationship with his father, who is ultimately driven by obsession, his brilliance, and the belief that a breakthrough on creating life or sustaining life is the end-all be-all. And when he succeeds in bringing life into the world in a new way, reanimating bits of a deceased soldiers and other people, he immediately recoils from the reality of what he's done. He tries to kill the unnamed creature out of fear and a belief that it's not learning. The creature escapes death and is left to navigate a world that never asked for him but punishes him for even existing. The film is told in two sections: the creator's story and the creature's story. Oscar Isaac plays Victor Frankenstein with great intensity. He's brilliant, no question about that, but he's also prideful and overconfident. He has this chip on his shoulder from his father's treatment of him when he was a child, and he was shattered by the death of his mother. He becomes obsessed with conquering death. His Frankenstein that he plays is a genius that's bound for self-destruction. He's got this unchecked ambition that leads him to make really bad decisions. Jacob Elordi plays the creature, and I didn't know that he had this type of range. I'd only seen him in Euphoria, and he is big and imposing in that as well, but here he's got this emotionally transparent element to him. He was able to display genuine rage in moments and this sort of awakening period perfectly. He interacts with nature and he learns about the world around him. He captures that childlike quality of a new being on Earth very well in this. Mia Goth is Elizabeth, and she also played Victor's mother. Her performance is super grounded. I know Mia Goth is a scream queen of sorts, and I don't really watch a lot of horror, so I haven't seen her in anything else, but I thought having her play both of those roles, Elizabeth and Victor's mother, was a great choice because it's this sort of haunting echo for Victor, something missing that he can't ever get back or go back to or gain again, and he eventually kills her, so that's twisted. Christoph Waltz is fine as Harlander, sort of playing another period piece German character. He's got a lot of that in his career. He doesn't have a ton to work with. He's Elizabeth's uncle. He's funding Victor's science because he hopes to cheat his own pending death. Guillermo Del Toro, the master of monsters, wrote and directed this iteration of Frankenstein, and this is right in his wheelhouse after creature features like Hellboy and the Oscar-winning The Shape of Water. My personal favorite, though, is Pan's Labyrinth. I think the message, cinematography, and fantasy elements all really work together best in that one. First off, the gothic visuals have to be mentioned. The costumes and the set design are top-notch. I always say that The Crow is a goth masterpiece, which it is, and Frankenstein is up there with it. Just the caskets for Victor's mother and father are works of art on their own. There's a lot of earth tones, a lot of great shadow and lighting, and there's scenes in the rain. All that plays into that gothic world building. It feels like a world that's old and decaying. We're kind of at the point where we're going toward modernization and an acceleration of science, but we're not quite fully there yet. The scale of the set pieces is admirable too. Also, there's sort of this balance between epic moments and quiet moments where we're learning more about the characters. But we travel from the Arctic to castles and colleges and a laboratory. And then finally this converted water power plant that's its own world where the laws of the natural world are being tested. And then we spend time at a country cottage where the creature grows and learns. There's a great exploration element in this movie that reflects in the exploration of science, the life and understanding of the creature, and these places where they both grow, or, one grows more than the other. We are in winter scenes quite a bit, and I assume that the creature's circulation is not firing on all cylinders because he talks about being cold quite often. That's reflected in the coloring of this film. It's a lot of blues and gold hues. Seems very painterly as well, especially when you consider the shadow work and the framing of the close-ups. It's either a painting or maybe the young art of photography that's mentioned in this movie is really highlighted in this film. The image that encapsulates this film and highlights what it's all about: a man driven by obsession to laugh in the face of death. So here we have Victor in the moments before his breakthrough, before his success. The creature is being lifted up, almost Christ-like on a cross. He will be resurrected from death's door several times in this movie. He will be misunderstood. He will be pure of heart, but he will not understand his father's desire in creating him. He will actually have to forgive the creator for that. This act of sort of lifting the body up is Victor lifting the parts of all these people that were used to create the creature out of the grave. And moments later, lightning hits and he cowers in fear, and maybe he's already understanding the mistake that he's made in that moment. This is the moment you think of when you hear Frankenstein, the life force put back into the dead, and I think they did a really good job in this movie of showing that. This version of Frankenstein is deeply concerned with accountability. The thing that Victor did most wrong was not creating, it's his refusal to take ownership of what he did. He refuses to name the creature. He refuses to guide him or understand him. He refuses to be accountable for the deaths of Harlander and Elizabeth. He's become his father, but worse. He blamed his father for his mother's death. He was scarred by his father's treatment of him when he was a child, only to return that treatment amplified to this creature that he's created. We also dive into what or who is a monster. On one hand, you have this creature and it reacts violently to cruelty, and it's misunderstood, but in reality, his reactions to the cruelty are just. He knows no other way to react. Maybe the real monster is the man who inflicts the cruelty and neglects and denies the existence of the other. I think the crux is that people often fear what they don't know, what they don't understand. I wonder if the blind man had seen the spirit of the forest for the creature that he really was, would he have been so open and accepting? I have always sort of wondered what the construction process of the creature represented. Why did Victor need so many bodies to piece together? Couldn't someone who was shot in the brain in the war just get a different brain and be brought back to life? Now I think that the assembly of the body heightens the unknown of it all. The danger of putting something together without knowing the outcome or the possibilities. Doing that act gives you time to think about what you're doing, and if you still go through with it, that says something about your understanding of your place in the world. You think you're above it all, and you have it all puzzled out or all figured out. I think those mirrored experiences between Victor and his creation sort of blur the lines between them. They're both abandoned. They both experience fear. They both long for a connection that's outside of their power to get. I don't know if that's a remark on nature versus nurture or something else, but it's something that stood out, how familiar and similar they were to one another. Like I said, this is my first Frankenstein, so I'm sure I missed some themes or symbolism. If there's something that stood out to you that resonates with you, drop it in the comments. The pivotal moment to me is the one where the creature reaches out, makes contact with the blind grandfather in the country cottage. He begins to truly experience a human connection and make even greater leaps in his intellect, even though he's been learning from the mill house gear room, listening and watching, the family in the forest from afar. This is where he really makes giant leaps. This time with the old man gives him his first taste of acceptance, though it's fleeting. The family comes back, tries to kill him, of course, but he learns about the power of forgiveness in this cottage, while at the same time remembering what Victor had done to him. There was a moment where he had forgotten about it, but he has to go back to the scene of the crime at the water power plant and put it all together. And at the end of the film, when you think the creature will no doubt kill Victor, he forgives him. And it's from the old man's lesson that wisdom has been given to him. You need to know what's been done to you, by whom, you've been harmed, and choose to let it fade. a beautiful message. This movie is on the longer side. It felt a little long to me, and it is more emotionally heavy than it is packed with suspense or spectacle. That actually worked for me, though, I think. Just a little long, but it's not typically my genre of movie, any sort of horror. So I don't know how other Frankenstein films are portrayed, so it just might be that this one is different than what people are used to. The visuals, while I understand that they can't be created fully in a real way, they do come off looking a bit cheap at times or over manipulated. I know I'm not seeing actual places, and sometimes that just feels off. I think for the most part, though, you do lose yourself in the story enough to overlook that. I think I can safely say this is my second favorite Guillermo Del Toro. I'd say go watch Pan's Labyrinth first if you haven't watched it and compare what you think on these two. I do like how there's some ambiguity here in this film. Victor's not some mad, crazed scientist, and the creature isn't a villain stomping, through villages, terrorizing. Responsibility and accountability for what you create is a lesson that rings true in today's fast-paced, polarized world, so I think that works here. The visuals that do work and the score really make this film an experience. It's one that I wish I could have seen in theaters. I can't believe how good a story this is as a baseline, and how much of the human experience it can explore depending on how you look at it. So kudos to Mary Shelley for that. That wraps it up for Frankenstein. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate it. And if you're so inclined, check out the Patreon. I have it currently set up, one low price for everything you see there, $3 a month as we build that community up. But hey, thank you so much, movie lovers. We'll see you next time.